Today's class is a postpartum fitness class. It doesn't matter if you are 6-week postpartum and just kind of got the clear to start exercising again, or if you're like myself, my youngest daughter is 3.5 years old now. These exercises that we're going to go through today are still very important throughout your whole postpartum journey. And if you don't keep up with it, it's sort of that saying, use it or lose it. I'll just tell a really quick story. So I obviously have been doing a lot of postpartum exercises since both of my children have been born. But at the beginning of the pandemic, we got a trampoline. I figured what a great way to keep the kids entertained. So I noticed though, I would be jumping on the trampoline and it's like, if you are a parent and a mom and have had children, then I'm sure you would have experienced this before, whether it was sneezing or laughing or jumping, and like a little bit of urine might leak. That shouldn't be happening. So I made sure I was very diligent, in the next month after that, going through all of my postpartum core exercises, a lot that we are going to be doing today. So if you are experiencing any leakage or any back pain or anything that you think is related to giving birth, it's not normal to, be experiencing a little bit of urine leakage when you're having sneezing. I think it's very common, and that's why a lot of people will say, oh yeah, of course I pee a little bit when I cough or when I sneeze, because it is very common, but it's not normal. That is a sign that there is some weakness or an issue going on, usually in the pelvic floor region. So we're going to start by doing a very basic exercise, but it's one of the most effective ways to help re-strengthen and repair those deep inner core pelvic floor muscles. And it's a breathing exercise, because when we are talking about our core and repairing the core after birth, we need to remember that it's not just our abdominals that we see in front. It's really the pelvic floor muscles. I'm just going to back up a little bit. So those are the muscles, connecting all of the bones and around the pelvic girdle. It's the deep inner core muscles, so those transverse abdominal muscles. It's the diaphragm working together, and also the back muscles. So you have two thin muscles going along the spine called your multifidus. Those muscles are all the ones that need to work together after giving birth through these exercises to make sure that you are, protecting your organs, protecting your posture, and you're not going to suffer any postpartum injuries if you do start exercising after giving birth. So the first thing we're going to do is the deep core breathing. So if you're following along, I just want you to sit nice and comfortably on the floor. So you can sit cross-legged. You can just sort of rest your wrists on your knees. Just be nice and relaxed. I want you to just drop your shoulders, keep a nice neutral spine. And all we're going to be doing to start is just breathing in and out. Nice deep breaths. Sounds easy enough, but on the breath in, I want you to think about really, filling up your belly, expanding your rib cage, letting that diaphragm drop and bring all that air in. And as the diaphragm is dropping, all those muscles on your pelvic floor, they should be relaxing. So you should feel the muscles that you're sitting on. Those are the muscles that I'm talking about when I say your pelvic floor muscles. So on the breath in, it's about relaxation. On the breath out, you're going to be pursing your lips. Do a bit of a forceful breath. And while you're breathing out, I want you to think about contracting or engaging those pelvic floor muscles. That's usually what you are doing when you are doing a Kegel. Some analogies that I use are, picture there's a blueberry or something on the floor and you're trying to actually lift that blueberry up with those muscles down below. So that's why it's great to start doing these exercises while we're sitting down like this, because you can feel your muscles on the floor. And then as you're engaging them or contracting them, they should be lifting slightly up off the ground. And again, no matter where, or depending on where you are in your postpartum journey, you might feel just a little bit of a lift because you might still have a lot of weakness in those muscles. Think about how stretched they were during both pregnancy and childbirth, or even if you had a C-section, think about all those deep inner core muscles were cut right through. But if you've been practicing this for quite some time, you should be able to get quite a strong contraction. So let's do about 8 breaths here. So we're going to breathe in and relax, and then breathe out and engage. Try and hold that contraction for the whole breath out. You might feel it starting to weaken a little bit, but as you continue to work on this, you should be able to hold that contraction for longer, and it should feel like a much stronger contraction. So let's keep going. Lift. Good, keep it going. So again, on the breath in, you're relaxing, filling up. You should feel that your belly kind of even come out a little bit. Those muscles drop down, and then breath in, contracting your inner core muscles, lifting your pelvic floor up off the ground. Couple more here. Excellent. So this type of breathing you should really be doing every day, especially if you do have a newborn at home. Just that breathing alone is really going to be very effective in helping to re-strengthen the muscles and also connecting the pelvic floor and those deep inner core muscles to work synergistically. So they really need to relearn to work together. One way to just do it sitting here, but you actually want to do these types of breathing during different exercise movements and during different body postures too, because this is probably the easiest way to contract those muscles. But if you're now spreading your legs out or moving them, it's going to be a lot harder to contract them. But you want to put that added stress on and train the muscles to be able to contract no matter where your body is. Because if you think about, if you're lifting your baby up off the ground or out of the car, your body's in a bunch of different positions, and you want to make sure that you are able to contract those muscles, because that is really what is going to help protect the lower back muscles and your organs and your deep inner core, and really help reduce any of the risk from injuries. So let's lie down on our side. So you're going to have your knees bent. I want you to just sort of first take your arm and rest it on your hip, because your shoulder, your hip, and your ankle should be in line. So your fingertips should be pointing at your ankles. The first thing that we're going to do, you can just rest that arm, is we're going to be lifting our top knee while our ankles stay together. Now, I want you to lift your knee as high as you can without letting the hips roll back. So you want to make sure that the hips are stacked on top of each other, and then you're lifting the knee and lowering it. But as you lift, you're breathing out. And as we're breathing out, we're engaging those pelvic floor muscles. So ready? Take a breath in, and then out, lift and engage. Breathe in, lower, relax, let all the muscles relax. And breathe out, lift and engage, in and relax. So keep it going. As you're doing this, you will likely notice that when your knees are apart, it's much harder to contract those muscles than it was when you were just sitting nicely on the ground. So keep it going here. Feel more like this. Good, and try and hold that contraction and relax. Now you're going to keep your bottom leg bent, straighten out that top leg, and then we're going to be lifting that top leg, and same thing as before. As the leg is lifting, and again, you're separating the legs even more this time, you're breathing out and doing that pelvic floor contraction. Lower it, you're breathing in and relaxing. So breathing out, lift, lower, and relax. Up, breathing out. Try and engage that pelvic floor muscles, lower and relax. So even if when your leg is up here, you feel like you really can't contract those muscles, still think about, you know, the area of those muscles that you're trying to contract, because the more you do it, that connection between the brain sending the signals to the muscles to contract is going to develop and get stronger as well. So a couple more. Breathe out, contract. Breathe in and relax. All right, so let's switch sides. So now we're gonna go onto our other side, starting first with our knees bent. Again, checking our alignment. So shoulder, hips, ankles are all aligned. And then taking a breath in. And then breathing out, lifting that top knee, keeping the elbows together, or the ankles together. Lower, breathe in, and relax. So lift, breathe out, contract, contract, and lower and relax. A couple more here. So breath in and out. Engage those pelvic floors. Try and hold that contraction. Breathe in and lower. Two more. In and lower. Last one. Engage, contract, hold it, hold it, hold it, and lower and relax. Now let's straighten up that leg, and ready, we're going to breathe in, lift, breathe out, and contract. And remember, it's the contraction, you want to try and think about it's a lifting motion too. You're not just squeezing as tight as you can. So think about, you know, the muscles around your hips. You're trying to bring them up to your ribs. You're trying to lift them up. Ready? Let's go. I try to give different analogies because I know, you know, especially doing this online now these days, it's much more difficult to understand than when I'm doing it in person. But you can't, you know, there are ways, you know, if you're just doing your leg lifts, and sure, you're gonna, you know, strengthen some of your muscles around here, but without properly including that breath, you aren't gonna get that right pelvic floor contraction. And that's really what we are focusing on right now to help, you know, re-strengthen those muscles, but it's also gonna help, you know, close that gap, that diastasis recti, gap that we often get, not fully. I mean, I think I still have a bit of a gap after my second was born, which is normal, but as long as you can create tension in your ab muscles and the muscles are still coming together when you are contracting them or doing a movement, and that's when you're going to protect all of your organs. Okay, a couple more here. And last one. Awesome. All right, so we're going to switch now to probably one of my favorite exercises. It's the glute bridge, and I really find this exercise to be one of the most effective ones to not only, of course, you know, do what we're talking about, you know, re-strengthening the pelvic floor muscles, the deep inner core muscles, but also helps really for those, you know, transverse abdominal muscles and the glute muscles to help strengthen them so that, you know, if you are lifting or bending over a lot, you know, holding your baby, you want, you know, strong glute muscles too, so that it takes some of the pressure off of the back. A lot of times if you are experiencing a lot of back pain postpartum, it's usually because you may have some weakness in your hips so that those muscles aren't engaging the way that they're supposed to be, and your back is doing all of the work. So of course your back is getting sore. So we're gonna lie down. Our heels and our shoulders are going to stay planted on the mat or on the floor. And what you're going to be doing, again, you're going to start with a breath in. And then on your breath out, you're lifting the hips all the way up to the ceiling. There's a lot going on here. You're squeezing your glutes and you're engaging that pelvic floor. And then lower and relax. So as the hips are coming up, you're breathing out, you're squeezing your glutes or your butt muscles, and you're engaging that pelvic floor. If you do those 3 things during this exercise, then you will really notice a difference in the strength and even the flattening of your lower abdominal muscles. Okay, ready? Breathe in. Out. Lift, squeeze. Good, breathe in. Excellent. Okay, keep it going. Keep it going here, and I'm just going to talk about some modifications. So as you are getting stronger, and if those exercises are starting to feel a little easier or you need a bit of a challenge, there's different things that you can do. So you can lift one leg and then coming up. So you'll really be working more one side. So make sure after you do a few on one side, you switch sides again. When you're up, you're breathing out, you're squeezing the glutes and engaging the pelvic floor. And another thing you can do is you can lift the hips up and then open the knees, close the knees, and back down. And that whole time you're breathing out, you're engaging the pelvic floor. If you have a resistance band, you can even put the resistance band around your knees so that when you're up, opening against that resistance band, closing, and back down. So there's lots of modifications that you can do if you're starting, with the beginner way, no resistance band, just doing your glute bridges up and down. Same with the first couple exercises that we did. As you get stronger, it's still important to do these sort of preliminary exercises, but you can add that resistance band around your knees, or you can add an ankle weight to sort of challenge yourself a little bit more. So those were some of the real basic exercises that I wanted to talk about today, but they are incredibly important and it's not talked about nearly enough after you have a baby. So I know, especially if you have an OB, oftentimes, like I did, at your 6-week appointment, they just sort of ask you how you're feeling, are you still bleeding, or things like that. They may not even do any exam at all. So if you tell them, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, then they'll say, okay, you are cleared for exercise, but without really any other guidelines. So I think it's always really important to seek advice from a professional in the field. So although an OB, you would think is a doctor, so a very well-recognized profession in the field, but it's really during the pregnancy period and the delivery period. The postpartum period is a completely almost separate period. Again, a lot of people think about it as the 4th trimester, and there's a lot going on within that period too. So that's why there are a whole other side of professionals that really just focus and specialize there. So, like myself, being a personal trainer and especially trained in working with women who are either pregnant or who have just had a baby, or you can seek advice from a pelvic floor physiotherapist who will actually do an internal exam. So if you do, feel that, something isn't quite right, or if you are experiencing any, back pain, incontinence, even just minor issues, I always recommend that it is incredibly important to go and get checked out, because you may think that, these things are just normal after having a baby, because like I said before, although they are common, they aren't necessarily normal. So even if you have like upper back pain and you think, oh, that's not related to my pregnancy or birth, it very well can be. So it's really important to take your health in your own hands and seek the professional advice that you need. So definitely start with some of those exercises that we did today. If you have any other questions, I'm always available. So I hope you enjoyed. I know it was just short today, but like I said, I just wanted to start off with some basics, practice those, let me know how it goes, and then I'm sure I'll be doing more of the full body workouts. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.